Welcome back to Whistler in British Columbia as we get the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup season off to a start. Nighttime Friday racing at the 2010 Winter Olympic track. This is the first of our two heats as we get ready for the action. Martin Haven and John Morgan in the warm and in the dry, John. It's been a cold and blustery afternoon, but this track has plenty of challenges no matter what the weather.
A spectacular facility in Whistler, which is spectacular by itself, built for the 2010 games, and boy, does it catch the athletes' attention, especially in the first event of the year, the start record. 2009, those two start monsters from Switzerland, Hefty and Lamparter. First curve, you got to be so perfect on a curve one, you drop off 7 stories. You got to just accelerate the sled here. There's no gas pedal in here. It's all about gravity. Letting the sled motor here, no mistakes, no variance, wedge. Okay, you're going about 55 or 60, and then all of a sudden you start to tighten up a little bit. Luder's Loop, named for Pierre Luders, the Canadian coach who had some issues there in that curve a few times, like everybody else will tonight. And now links, another great corner combination. Oh man, the speeds, 80 miles an hour and shiver, 50-50. Oh, it's a little tamer than it used to be. Gold Rush. 90-mile-an-hour speeds we're going to see here tonight into Thunderbird. Through and down on the fastest facility on the planet. Boy, this is some great challenge for the athletes, Martin.
Well, it really is. I mean, the speed is the big significant factor here, but it is a challenge all the way. It's not fast and relatively straightforward. It's very technical. So our start monsters, Bert Hefty and Thomas Lamparter with the start record. And the Russians, as Alexander Kazyanov has the downtime record. It's hovering still around freezing. The wind at the top of the track is still blustering around. The rain, the snow that we had earlier has stopped. Right there. Yeah, there is Francesco Frugic, our multiple two-man world champion. Alexander Kazyanov running towards us in the background there. As he limbers up, everybody just trying to get that heat into the muscles. Big field in this two-man season opener as well. 23 sleds, of whom the fastest 20 go through into Heat 2. That was Bruce Tasker, and just before him you saw Chris Spring, one of the 3 two-man race winners last year, because we had 2 races for two-man. Rico Pater was a joint winner with the man who ended up winning the World Cup title, Yoon Jong-won of Korea. Now, a new system for sorting out the starting order. 1 to 5 are from the sliders who are 11th to 15th in the World Cup standings. 6 to 15 sliders who fall in the top 10 in the World Cup standings. And for the first round, that means based on last year's results. So that includes 1 of Korea, Justin Cripps, who ended up in 7th position in the championship. They're going to a random draw. Then from 17 on down, that's Nick Poloniato of Canada, and the rest, they all follow in their FIBT ranking order. First sled of the two-man World Cup season is Great Britain's Lamin Dean. Juju Simpson, the sprinter from Derby, behind him, the 24-year-old, with the 35-year-old guardsman. Lamin giving him the side look there.
I expect a lot out of these. Out of this British team. Look at, he got the sled up in the air out of the blocks there, though. That not a proper technique.
British bobsledding really looking to move it up now after
92 is pretty decent. Lamin, he keeps knocking on the door. More of a 4-man guy. He's only got a couple results from last year's World Championships, but if I had a chance to put a bet down, I bet you the British 4-man team makes some noise this winter.
Well, they were shooting for the medals, weren't they? Really in medal contention after the first day in Eagles last year. Crashed out in the 3rd heat.
Look how it goes on the wrong side of the straightaway to 9-10. You have to steer more.
Very different look, very different sound to the skeleton race. Of course, so much more noise. 133.4. And he's
a rabbit. Speed 148 kilometers, 92 miles an hour, and he's not going to be one of the fastest sleds. And the brakes, it's kind of, one of his newer braking on the back. They got to make sure they get over the crest of that hill. And Dean and Simpson. First sled down of the year, and it's successfully at the bottom, which is great because not all sleds have made it down here successfully this week.
We've had a few training crashes so far in the last couple of weeks.
Now watch, he might run too far here because watch the sled when it comes out of the grooves here. Watch it skip to the right. Look at the brake, it's still getting down. Look at that. That doesn't seem like much, but when you're trying to accelerate away, even that little variance, that's hundreds of seconds.
And we'll try and land a little softer the next time, which is hard when you're sprinting downhill. Second of our sleds is another relative newcomer to the two-man front seat.
Look at the black eye on Justin Olsen.
That's off a crash in last week. He's got Evan Weinstock behind him. Olsen, of course, Olympic champion in the four-man on this track in 2010 behind Steve Holcomb.
Expect a big start out of these guys.
It looked like the cleanest, most synchronized of heats.
Olsen didn't get in cleanly
Olsen
there
slipped,
either.
but they're in 474.
That's only 400s off the start record, and I don't think they got out of the blocks good. Now, Weinstock, he's a decathlete, went to Brown University, born and raised Las Vegas, great football player. I think there's a lot of potential for the United States in this young driver, and this brakeman he got paired up with. These guys can make a noise this year, but this is a tough track for Olsen.
It almost doesn't matter what you do in training as long as you can put together the clean runs in the race, and he's in the lead over the much more experienced
50 curve, looming, watch out. Perfect. Speed. Let's see what he gets, 150.
This is looking very nice indeed.
147, 91, not the same speed as the British, but he's got plenty of time in the bank because of the better start time. 2000's better to start, only 3700's at the better. At the bottom, Lamont Dean might have outdriven Justin, but he's been driving for 4 years. Olsen, this will be his first time out in the World Cup circuit.
Yep.
And that's start time. Everybody should take a little notice of that.
He was forerunning at the World Championships, Justin Olsen.
Watch him get in here. Watch him get. I don't think he gets in here clean. Look,
No.
see, he didn't get in clean. That's worth something. I mean, he's only 400s off the start record. There's not going to be many people get to 474 today. And then here's in a 910. Wrong side of the straightaway. Little tap. That means he goes into the curve late. Pressure, steering, friction.
Yep.
Loss of time.
Well, also working out those nerves. First World Cup race for him. First World Cup race as well for this man, Australia's Lucas Matter, who used to be a brakeman and has now been driving for 2 seasons. And 21-year-old Milan-born Aussie David Murray behind him.
Now, bobsledding is a team sport. You know, you got to do everything. You got to eat, sleep, and drink with each other. You got to really bond. You know what these two guys did this summer? They climbed Mount Fuji together. So that's some bonding. Lucas had a tough week of training, though. Crashed in the 4-man. Earlier, then crashed in the 2-man. He was totally perplexed. Plus, he crashed up to curve 6, which is coming up. And that's a long ways to go upside down on this track. Coming up right here.
They say you're not a bobsledder unless you crash. Flops off 6,
big
but
steer
he kept
there.
it together.
Big steer there.
6 tenths behind. This is the 3rd fastest run at the moment. 3rd of our sleds. Don't forget, 20 of our field go through.
Ooh, watch out here. He's a little late coming in here with the 50-50.
Whoa! Hangs on to it.
Great pictures. 50-50, you can't. He might have tapped going in, pushed him in the middle of the curve.
You could hear it, even if we didn't see it.
Look at him duck his head. He's,
Yep.
Hey, it's his first World Cup, right?
First ever World Cup start. So
Good job, Lucas.
those young guys.
4-man.
We'll see them in the 4-man sled, exactly right.
Australians need to support these guys a little bit more. No logos on the sled, no flags. There's something on the side. Okay, I'll give them something like that. See a kangaroo on the front of the sled, something there, right?
Well, he's got 3 new boys this season in the
Watch the
team.
tap here. Yeah, he taps in, taps going in. Look how late he has to get into the curve. Here we'll see it again. It's taps. Now you go to the middle. Look at the back end of the sled come up. Boy, you can't do that. That 50-50 is so much more forgiving. If that was 4 years ago, he was old.
Absolutely. Now it's a little more 60-40, maybe even 70-30.
Now Holcomb says 70-30, but he's the guy that gave it the
knows
curve.
it. So next up, our second British sled. This is 29-year-old Bruce Tasker, 4th in the 2-man World Championships, Britain's best 2-man result in something like 40 years, and an England rugby player behind him in the form of Sam Blanchet, born in Montreal, Canada, played for England in rugby sevens.
He's the one he played. He's in second row. He's tall. He's 6'2", 6'3".
Played sevens for Expertise and for England. So there's some caliber. 700s off at the start, still second British behind Justin Olsen.
Well, I talked about the British team and four-man Lamont Dean. I'm telling you right now, this guy here's got some potential too. What he did last year, finishing fourth at the World Championships in Innsbruck, Britain's best finish in the World Championships in 50 years. So this guy's got some talent.
He's only done a handful of World
Watch
Cup
out here.
races as well.
Really late. There's two curves. Perfect there. 50-50, so much more forgiving, which is a testimony to the Whistler track and the IBSF Track Crew Commission. They've really made that corner acceptable.
2.78 slide for Bruce Tasker and Sam Blanchet. Blanchet Dufresne, in fact, but rather thoughtfully, he's sort of eased the Dufresne out so he actually fits on the timing screen.
Boy, the athletes in the first the four sleds down, the athletes in the sleds, I tell you, there's been a big crossover of many athletes coming into the sport, and this year we're going to see a lot of them. Here he is in the 9-10, and look at the skid. I mean, you're skidding under the takedown. He wants to get over to the right, but now he's late into that curve. Now he's way down here in 10, 11, and 12, and he's still running late. That's from the mistake 100 meters up.
So there's Bruce Tasker, closest to us, Sam Blanchet, a man who has never watched Cool Runnings. Sam Blanchet, you got to put that right, John. Is Bruce happy with that? Yeah, he's always smiling.
Right there.
From France now, our fifth sled. First time here, like Bruce Tasker, first time ever in Whistler for the French, Loïc Costeg, new 24-year-old. His brakeman, Vincent Castel from Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast.
4.92. No, Lloyd gives up the time. Look at that exit. Really. He's got some real quiet hands the last couple of years. He's been really improving. Le Plan France guy. And the French. Ooh, that's late. Watch out here. Boy, was he late into that curve. You see that?
Got knocked away again on the entry, didn't he?
There's been some crashes up there in curve 4 and curve 6 this week. We almost just saw one there. Looking late. Costeg had a pretty good season last year. Four-man, they've got some decent starts. They got quite a contingent of coaches with Bruno Manjon. Whoa! You have to carve out there. There was maximum steering there.
Comes in fast, this track, fast and furious.
There's Bruno Manjon and his brakeman Max Robert. They won the bronze medal at the '98 Olympic Games in Nagano. French, a little revival. He's not happy with his run, but these guys have improved in the last couple of years.
He's only ever been in Canada for 10 days. So he's had maybe a dozen trips now down the track, 2 and 4-man.
He'll be better in the 4.
Yeah.
50-50 curve. Now watch the tap on the right side of your screen. Little bit. Now he's got to go. Look how late he is. Look at the tap here. Now watch this into the middle. He's airborne. Now he's got to go way late in the curve. Now watch the, look at the runners. He's maxed out that steering to get off that curve. When you get in late in 50-50, 50-50 dictates to you how you get out.
He hauled that off, didn't he? That was survival of the fittest. Justin Olsen leads from Lamondine and Bruce Tasker, 5 of 23 sleds down. So now we get into the top 10 in last year's world rankings. They go in a random order. So our 6th starter is Canada's Chris Spring. Now, he won 1 race last year. Where did he win it, John? This track, right here.
He's got that beast on the back. That he still might be the most fit athlete in the field.
32-year-old Chris Spring, 42-year-old Lascelles Brown.
42 years old. And the guy, he's still a specimen.
He's admitting to 42.
Yeah, let's like to see that passport. He is some stud. I mean, everybody looks up to him. The Springer didn't have a great year, of course, won this race. He's got some eyes and hands. Competed on this track in 2010 as an Australian.
Well, he was born in Darwin in the Northern Territories of Australia, moved to Canada when he started bobsledding.
Here he comes. He could catch everybody at the bottom here with his knowledge of this track. Perfect lines. Should be the big speed, 147. No, it's not Willam and Dean, the first man down, but this is close.
1200 away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, I gotta say something. Justin Olson just beat Springer on this track. Wow.
Yeah.
But he beat him by 600s at the start, beat him by 13 at the bottom, so Chris outdrove him. But this track, there's an emphasis on the start, but not as much as another track.
We had a tie for victory in the first of our two-man races last year. We had double two-man races here, double four-man in Top City.
Great. Watch the beast on the back of the sled. Watch his entry in quietly. Look at him come out of the steering. See they come out of the grooves? Perfect. Remember the first sled we saw with that little drift? Yep. Now look at these lines. Crossover perfectly under the take-on, exactly what you want.
Pushing.
There's King.
What did we get? 480. Yeah. That's all he cares. Oh,
next up is Johannes Lochner from Germany. One World Cup race in his CV. They've never been here before, him and his 20-year-old brakeman, Joshua Booth.
Silver medalist at the 2015 World Championships, these two. Also won the Junior World Championship that year. Start time, 480, tied, second place. Likes the track, told me he loves it. He says he's very disappointed the German team's not going to Lake Placid next week. He's disappointed because he loves that track too.
Well, like you, he comes from a bobsledding family. His uncle Rudy was a top slider for Germany as well.
World champion in '91 at Altenburg, silver medal in the Albertville Winter Olympic Games in '92, and Rudy could push a bobsled.
That might be the best entry into 9 we've seen. Let's see how that brings him in.
He's coming in.
He's got the lead.
He's flying.
He got 8 to 9 absolutely drilled.
He was so positive about this track, and he just got here. I was really, really amazed at his energy he had. Look at that, -8. Wow, great run. Well, there's a couple more Germans. Let me tell you something. There's a couple more Germans coming that might better that too. But these two guys are young. The Germans.
A few coaching changes happened over the winter. Over the summer, Christoph Langen has parted company with Germany, and it's now one of his assistant coaches who has taken over head coaching role.
René Spies, a long-time, soft-spoken guy from Winterberg. Look at the speed difference.
Yeah, there you go.
0.2 of a kilometer speed gain. That's down in the Gold Rush.
That's that.
And look at these lines. Look at these lines here. How quiet was that out of 50-50? That's why he had the 0.2 better speed. What does 0.2 of a kilometer mean in this sport of hundredths of seconds?
Hundreds. Francesco Friedrich now, the youngest ever two-man world champion, multiple world champion. He won the title again in Eagles in Austria with Torsten Margis. 26 and 27, the two of them.
This could be a 75, 76. These are two awesome specimens, 5'7" and 475. And this is a guy who's got 3 world championships under his belt already at a young age. He's chasing down Eugenio Monti, who's got 7, and he's got a chance. For the next 5 years, this guy could become the most famous ever. I mean, Monty's the Pele of our sport. The standard.
Well, with him and Friedrich, Germany could be in a real purple patch.
Look at this. Look at he's 20 ahead.
Into 9.
He's he is a special pilot in two-man bobsleigh. Ooh, real high there though. 50-50, no problem. Speed. Watch this. 446, but not the speed we've seen from the other sleds. 28. I can't believe he's going to accelerate away.
And at the
33 does. Oh, no, excuse me, 149. I read the wrong clock. 149.7.
93 miles an hour.
93.
A previous best was 92.3.
I read the clock wrong. I apologize. Listen. Now Margus is another one of the decathletes. He might be the highest point scoring decathlete in the field. I'd like to be. I got to go check that out because the American
Weinstock, 57.
I think he's 78. But boy, there's a lot of decathletes. That's my athlete of choice in this sport.
That was a big high line.
Look at there it is too. Look at the.
But he
We still got quiet. Oh no, he had a little bit of a rhythm there with his helmet. A little violent transition on the exit.
Torsten Margis. They look happy with that, and so they should. Now then,
here we go.
one of our winners last year and our World Cup champion. He won 2 races, Koenigsegg Bavaria, and tied for the win here with Rico Peter. Won Yun-jong and Seo Young-woo of Korea. What a season this young man had last year.
He's 15 kilos, about 12 kilos heavier than he was 5 years ago when he entered the sport. Look at the size of these guys. These are not, these used to be small. These guys live in the weight room. Down 476. Wow. Everybody's got the big spark.
It's almost like it's Olympic season.
Now let's see what he can do. He's 100th ahead. And he was 100th behind. Wow, he's red numbers now, but this is where Friedrich just showed why he's a 3-time world champion at 25-year age.
Friedrich was a full mile an hour quicker through the last speed track. So one is losing ground.
Whoa. 50-50 is it carved? No, nice. Watch the heads here. Man, not bad. No bad. Now it's the speed. 148 is the best speed he's got. That's 91.4. That's not the best speed. Should be second. Yes. 400.
Wow.
Well, listen, the Koreans are here to stay in the sport. Last year was a surprise to us. Very emotional with them losing their leader, Gomer Lloyd, last year. Saw Gomer's wife, Jeannie, earlier. But these guys are the real deal. Look at the size. That's not what he looked like 5 years ago. Look at,
he was telling us he weighs 105 now. What did he say he weighed when he came in? 83 or something?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
I mean, just, yeah.
And that's kilos, so that's 2.2. I mean, he's gained 25 pounds, and that's
plus
quads.
Plus.
From the hips down is where they got all their strength.
So the weight room plus plenty of rice and fish. Next up for Canada, 29-year-old Hawaiian-born resident of Summerland, British Columbia. This is home from home for Justin Cripps, and back to home from home after 2 years hiatus. Jesse Lumsden, head coach Graham Richardson. First race back for Lumsden.
Watch the start speed. Start speed is everything. One thing, you can have the best time, but you want to have the best speed, because the speed is your velocity when you hop in the sled. 479, very cool. Competitive enough to give him a chance to get in the top 3 down below. I mean, if you want to say he's got a knowledge of the track, we know that. Skeleton race we saw earlier, the Canadians. Or the women's skeleton team from Canada voted for the season.
Yep. Mimi Reniva got 5th position. This Bavati won by 8/10 of a second, having not won for over 18 months.
23, Holcomb 23. Bottom, watch his heads here in this exit. Not bad.
Smooth as silk from Cripps.
Here's the match, trying to get to Friedrich. Can't get to Friedrich. Almost 2 kilometers down, kilometer and a half down.
Yep.
Still top 3. Good run.
Yep.
Lyndon Rush, you just saw there, and Graham Richardson. Rush, the driving coach, of course, former.
This is where the track,
#1.
the speeds we start to have to look at. This is where the track starts to, fall apart a little bit for the top speed. You don't have that fresh ice. You don't have that Zamboni coming out between sleds and glistening it up. Plus, they did not spritz the track.
Yeah.
They're getting 93-mile-an-hour speeds. 4-mans are going to be maybe 95, 96 like they were at the Olympics.
Look at Jesse. Didn't get any smaller in the last 2 years. Francesco Friedrich leads, tiny margin over Won Yun-jong of Korea. Justin Cripps lies 3rd for Canada.
Track is clear for cash.
10 sleds down, 13 to come in the first of 2 heats. Season opener in the BMW IBSF World Cup for 2-man bobsled. Alexander Kasyanov, double bronze medalist on this track last year, and has had a pair of silver medals in 4-man. I think there's something about this track that Kasyanov likes.
He's not going to get a good start. He's going to probably get 86, 87. Ooh, 90, and a little variance. He had to come out of the start grooves, and that wasn't good there. You saw that. He was
He's given away 1500s to our top three.
It's going to be
even
30.
sits down to
Yeah,
start
there's
driving.
the 30 mark. Might be 35 in the next clock, but with his driving ability, he should stop the bleeding. Second time I've said that. First time in a bobsled race, but I said it twice in scouting. This is where he's good. He's the track record holder. Ooh, 41. He's not the track record holder without being an excellent eye-hand guy. Look at that, how smooth he was on the exit. Now he's into that. He should have some top speed. 148, 148. That's about the same as Canadians. Hanging in there. Look at that. Wow. Third top speed, 6. And you know, he has the 8th best start time of 11 sleds, the 3rd top speed in the bottom, and 6th finish. So, but his nemesis has been, since he's come into sport, as a start.
Well, he was 1.1 seconds quicker in the race here in January when he only took a bronze medal.
1500s behind Friedrich at the start, and so that should be 45 at the bottom. So if he had the same start as Friedrich, he'd be only behind 500 or 600s.
Yeah. Hasjanov lies 6th, Justin Olsen 5th. Johannes Lochner in 4th, and then the top 3. Justin Cripps for Canada, Wonyon Jong for Korea, and Francesco Friedrich for Germany. Next up, more red, white, and blue of the Russian Federation. This is the younger of the two pilots, 29-year-old Alexei Stulnev, 27-year-old Vasily Kondratenko behind him. Stulnev with a new look with that beard this season.
Remember the bad crash he had at Altenburg last year, and he ended up he had stitches in his leg for about 3 weeks.
Stitches,
and he was still competing. Didn't stop him. That's that speed, start speed at the 50-meter mark. The clock ends. Speed is how you know, your entry into the sled. You can see the ranking there. He's the 8th best start time. Speed, you know, he's got a lot of albatross now with that deficient start time. He was only 1900s down. His teammate was 2900s down at that spot. So if he's 2500s the next clock, he's got a chance to be in the top 6. 33. No. Tip there, too.
Still 8th place as he was when he sat down. Ahead of Lamendine and Bruce Tasker, Lloyd Kosteg and Lucas Matter. Up to 6th now, so ahead of Kasyanov, his teammate.
Should be. He had a better start. Speed. Whoa! 150! Top speed we've seen.
93.2.
Whoa! Boy,
than
there's
anybody.
150 kilometers. 93.2 miles an hour for this Alexei Stulnev. So there's a speed merchant. Gives up time at the start. You give him that start that Friedrich had. He was behind Friedrich at the top by 11. Yeah, same thing. He'd be 500-600s behind at the
Trying
bottom.
to figure out if that is one of last year's Valna sleds, isn't it? I think still.
Look at this little tap here. That doesn't sound like much, but that's out of curve 1. So that's a major mistake there. He would have even been better than that. Stulnev showing he's got some driving talent.
Kondratenko showing he's got some back muscle as well. Goodness me, he's wide. Next up from Freitau in Germany, the 26-year-old four-man exponent Nika Walter. Martin Grottkopf from Dresden, 30-year-old brakeman, another man who's sprouted a backwoodsman's beard over the summer. Whoa.
How much time? Look at the clock. They got plenty of time.
Yep.
Plenty of time. They know that. They can see the clock. Reset.
Now, do you ever get as good a start when you have to go back and reset?
He's an 85 starter, 82 starter probably, 87. He doesn't get the starts. He's more challenging than everybody in the four-man. Big skid out of curve 1. So he's going to have all he can do to stay with the 30-hundreds here.
Well, the Germans, as you said,
that's good,
not
though.
going to Lake Placid in 2 weeks' time, but they're juggling sleds. They've got new FESs, they've got new Valners, they've got old FASs, they've got Singers, they're throwing sleds at these men left, right, and centre.
I think Friedrich's driving the new FES sleds. He's driving the new Walder sleds, and Walker's driving the old FES sleds. So they're testing sleds, basically. It's tough to test the sleds when you have such different start time in the teams.
And you wonder after a slide like that what it tells you.
Well, he's 10th. He would have been 7th or 8th if he didn't didn't have that mishap at the exit of curve 1, along with the deficient start time.
Plus a few skids down the way. That was about a wilder ride as we've seen. Tires hurt from
Second
at
World
the
Cup
front.
points last year. He's finished 6th on this track. So, I mean, the guys, watch the start. Okay. Hey, whoa, I'm not ready. Okay, let's reset. We got plenty of time. Take a deep breath, guys. Reset, plenty of time. And then look at that curve 1. Look at the sled skidding, everything skidding across the ice. That's as bad a mistake as you can make. And down here where it's fast, you can make mistakes and skid down there. It doesn't cost you.
But every slide
up there where you're slow.
And that full start, no flag down there. You've got 60 seconds before you have to break the start beam, and that is not leave the block. So joint winner with Won Yun Jong of Korea last year, Rico Peter and Thomas Amrine. Are we going to get a dead heat for victory? Top 2 sleds currently, one is one of them, are covered by 400s. Can Rico Peter get in there again this year?
Low 80s. He needs low 80s, high 70s. 84. Start speed, not bad. He's got 8 and 8.
Thomas Amrine is his #1 two-man brake man. Last year he was first in race 1 here in Whistler in the two-man, 7th the following evening. What was going on with that?
Now.
Well, maybe he had too much celebration on his first night. 2600s, hold his own. Rico really has emerged as a great driver. He only needs a start time. Well, that was a little late there, so he does 50-50, no problem.
Held on to it though. Up
Boy,
to
real
6th,
quiet.
up to 5th on the split
Speed,
time.
150. Don't see it.
Don't forget that these City sleds, as he tucks his head to the line, 4th place.
Wow, speed 148.9, 3rd best speed, 4th best downtime, and you consider he had the 8th best start. So he's got the guy leading, he's got the 2nd best start, the guy in 2nd's got the 3rd best start, the guy in 3rd's got the 4th best start. Excuse me, Peter's in 4th, and he's got the 8th best start. So he probably had the best drive down the track.
He drives better than he runs.
Look how low he is. Look at his eyes, barely above the cowling. Perfect aerodynamic profile. And look at this drive. You wonder why he had great speed in the bottom with that deficient start? Right there, 50-50. Then that accelerates you to that gold rush where you get that 90+ mile-an-hour speeds. And that's fast on a bobsled with no suspension.
Next up, your 2010 4-man bobsled Olympic champion on this track. Lots of great memories here for Stephen Holcomb, but he very nearly didn't make the start of this season with lots of injuries in the crew.
You know, Holkey looks like he's 35, 36 years old, but everybody knows he can still drive a bobsled. Won the event in Lake Placid last year with a deficient start time. Got a 2nd Sabre Inch with a deficient start time. And watch these lines. It's 2200s back. Right now he had, the 11th best start. So anything in the top 5 or 6. Ooh, that big mistake there.
3/10 of a second back as we're now approaching the 2nd intermediate now.
Really sound great looking at the Stars and Stripes livery on the sled and the suits. 11th position for Holcomb, 11th at the start.
7th and 12th in these 2 races last year. Down here, 50-50, the curve that he gave the name to in 2009. Speed, yeah, he's got top speed, 150 kilometers an hour. Best speed down the track, 50. Look at this. He went from 11th all the way down the track. He gets through the gold rush. He posts speeds of 93.7 miles an hour. It's better than anybody else in the field by a half a mile an hour. And he goes from 11th and he sneaks into 6th. And he's only 900s behind his teammate. 1400s behind his teammate. This is the only mistake up top. Watch this little rattle right there. Like, try to get over and get on the take on too early. Cost him.
We only did 2 training runs yesterday in the 2-man. The rest of the week he's been in the 4-man.
Wow.
Okay, 15 sleds down out of our 23 strong field. Don't forget, only the fast 20 go through. So at the moment, bottom three, Bruce Tasker, Great Britain, Loic Kosterg of France, and Lucas Matter of Australia. This is Maxim Andrianov, the third of our Russians. 29-year-old with...
Ooh, watch out. Ooh, he just got through there. Just this quiet steering out of one. Let's start looking how low these guys are on the sleds. This is about aerodynamics here on this fastest track on the planet.
3/10 of a second back.
Clean, boy, very clean. Late there. Ooh, big skid there. See, he was late up there, 50 meters above that skid. And he finally got up to his mistake on the takeout of 9-10. Watch the heads here. Smooth. This is a very smooth ride. His teammate Stillman was fast. Let's see what he's got. 10 speed, 92.5. Decent.
Brakeman hauling on the brakes after they cross the finish line and start climbing towards the finish dock. Don't use the brakes down the track if you want to avoid exclusion anyway, because it rips the ice apart. So there is Maxim Andrianov of Russia.
Here's the skid.
Yeah.
What do you think that's worth? That's
skid.
Airborne skid, you know, going across here. He's going about 70 there. Not as bad when you make that skid up in curve one when you're going 30. You know, that skid there is still costly.
The hit on the wall that lifts 700 kilos of sled in the air.
That might not be positive.
Next up, from Hamilton, Ontario, 29-year-old Canadian Nick Poloniato. Derek Plug behind him. Long-time part of Chris Spring's team.
Different look for Derek this year.
Yeah. Nick's first appearance in a World Cup race was as part of a four-man crew for Kaylee Humphries.
Pretty impressive preseason Canadian trials. Poloniato won one of the races. Earned a good spot on the team. 47, 10th best start. Watch the skid here. No, perfect. Let's watch his aerodynamic profile. Coming up right at us here. Good. Look at the way he just shifted his shoulders right there to get over on the takeout of the curve. Some drivers do that. You can do that up top of the track where the speeds are slow. He rattled his heads there as he got off late. There again, too. He's still late. He's still late going into this curve.
Catching back up with the sled, though. This is still a top 10 run from Nick Poloniato.
Nice look at the heads here.
Yeah, this is a really good introduction to World Cup racing for him.
Still speed, still climbing. This is pretty decent. 10th best speed at the bottom, 148. He finishes at 12th. 10th best start time, 12th finish on his home track. He was late up there midsection of the track. He was really good early. 6 through 10 or 11, you saw a lot of heads slapping as he comes off the curve, off the exit of the curve. Takeouts where you get on, exit where you get off the curve. And you try and get on, and, you know, without rattling your head. Watch his heads here. Watch the heads here. This is one of the places where he's late. See that? Now he's, you know, crossing over, trying to get into the next curve. Look at that little bit of a skid there. You know, when you're late in one curve, up to 5 or 6, that can compound all the way down to 10 or 11 before you catch up.
This track comes at you so fast. Only one World Cup race last year, Poloniato, and that was in St. Moritz. Next up for the USA, Cody Baskew. The Lake Placid native with Christopher Kinney behind him.
That's his rookie appearance in the World Cup.
And one of a host of new athletes in the US program, men and women's.
A lot of new guys in the US program. Kinney's a big guy. Look at him have to get in, get down. 483. Baskew won the US trials. Skid there. He's just every year, about the 4th, 5th year we've seen him. Just continues to improve. I mean, he's like the other kid from the Lake Placid area, John Napier. Been around, very soft-spoken. All he does is drive a bobsled well.
He was in bobsleighs pretty much before he was out of short trousers, so he's got a lot of time sliding on ice.
He's right now in the mix and challenging both his teammates.
Olsen is 7th, Holcomb is 8th.
Speed's
just
good.
slipped out of the top 10 into 11th. That's ahead of Chris Spring, one of last year's race winners in the two-man.
good finish.
Across the line in 13th position, so he is guaranteed to make the second heat.
Look at Scheimer, look at his coach on the right, go, wow. He's 5 kilometers down to Holcomb, going into the gold rush.
In an identical BMW sled. Yeah.
So that's what Scheimer was shaking his head at. This is pretty good driving. So look, he puts his hands up. We didn't see too many issues here. Heads, there's a little skid there. Watch, there's definitely a mistake there.
Well, it's part of it that the sled looks like it's not sliding because he's driving a little more than Holcomb because the line's not quite right. Doesn't have that experience here yet. We'll wait to see what Heat 2 brings us now. Kim Dong-yoon of Korea and Yoon Jung-ling behind him. Kim has always been a little bit better as a four-man driver. When the Koreans first came into World Cup racing.
Look at the quads on these guys.
Yeah. He only did four-man, and Kwon did the two-man.
So he's mid-80s would be a great time. Start time for these two. Oh, they're in the sled early, down. 81, great start. Well, look how quickly the brakeman was in the sled there. He was down the same time the driver was in. You know, there's something to say about that. Getting in, getting settled on that sled before curve 1, because after curve 1, it drops 7 stories. And if you're skidding around curve 1, you lose all of that acceleration.
And the momentum has brought him from 7th at the start up to 4th position on the split time. So it looks like that was a really good move.
Whoa, anything about the track slowing down?
Fourth position.
Whoa! This is a great run. Two Koreans in the top 5.
We have got 2 in the top 3 at the moment. He is 3rd fastest on splits.
Wow!
One of Korea will follow. Kim of
Fourth
Korea will
best
follow.
speed.
Oh,
Wow!
by 200s behind Justin Cripps of Canada.
And he's 100th ahead of Rico Peter. Beat both 2 Korean sleds and beat 2 German sleds. The Koreans are in 2nd and 4th. You think the Korean team has arrived? Wow! Of course, they got the father-son duo from Switzerland that take care of all their equipment. You saw how gentle they picked those sled up. Little head there, but no skid. How about the heads here?
That is the single best drive we have ever seen him produce.
Look at these, a kilometer down to Friedrich down the bottom.
Lost time in Thunderbird. As Ivo Danilevich, their driving instructor. That was a good run from Kim Dong-yoon of Korea. There's the Hyundai sled. And it is littered with major Korean companies sponsoring them. Next up for Monaco, 23-year-old Rudy Rinaldi with Boris Van behind him. Rinaldi was a bronze medalist in the 2012 Youth Olympic Winter Games, Monaco's first and so far only Olympic medal.
Patrice Serville did win a World Cup medal in Calgary about 3 or 4 years ago, which is Monaco only ever World Cup medal, but Serville also finished 4th in the World Championships for Monaco back in 2004.
Of course, he's here coaching the Monegasques and the French with Bruno Michon and Max Robert.
Boy, he was really out of control.
Backed it in, but he got it off the corner nicely. Rudy Rinaldi, 19th place.
Trying to make the top 20.
Just ahead of Lucas Matter of Australia, but has he got enough momentum on board? At the line, 19th, 18th. So he's ahead of Costerre of France as well. There's a little bit of francophone battling going on.
I think that's, well,
that's him.
He's going to make, he's 18th.
It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Bruce Tasker is in. Nico Walter is in. They're 17th and 16th. But Rinaldi, Kosterg, and Mata, they are the ones in the danger zone.
I believe he's in. He'll no worse than 20. That's my prediction. Look at that slap on the exit. Look at this kid. Yes, he's trying to get over. And, you know, and it cost him. He tried to get over there, and that's, you know, just tweaked.
He knows where he wants to be on the way out. Yeah. He sacrificed the way in to get to what he wanted.
When he went in, the back end skidded away from him.
Well, he knew what's coming up after that, 50-50. Francesco Friedrich leads 2 Korean sleds in the top 4. And look how tight it is for bronze. 300s covering 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So, 20 sleds down, the race is full. It is now time for me to trot out a Horel Chestnut. Go fast or go home. For Ivo de Bruyne and Dennis Venka. Ivo now lives in Calgary, married to a Canadian slider. And they need to beat Lucas Matter of Australia and probably Lloyd Costeg to get in the race.
Well, the 20th best start time relegates him to perfect lines down the track. Got a chance. You know, great conversation with him. He had great promise about 6-7 years ago when the Dutch Olympic Committee was funding this federation. Now these guys get $5,000 total euros for the year to operate it. It's just almost impossible to compete. You know, the guys got to have jobs.
And it's a real shame because I talked to Coach Graham Richardson about him. This guy's got lots of potential. Luckily, Vim Normans of Eurotech is still supplying them sleds and keeping them as up to pace as they can with material.
It's not bad.
This
is not bad.
Big skid across the line.
Still, 18.
He's in. And
so
is Rudy Ronaldo and Lloyd Costeg. Lucas Matter of Australia is
first
our
guy
first
out
to be bumped.
Wow. And I think, you know, Meyer's coming down, so Costeg will also be bumped here unless something happens. And the Brazilian, but I don't know about him.
Edson Bindliati might not make the second heat.
I don't know. We'll see.
There's Vim Norman. It's not Vim Norman in the back. I thought we saw Vim there for a moment. I haven't seen him all week. Probably back home.
Look at this. I mean,
Big
a
skid
lot
into
of people
9.
have had problems there,
Yeah.
but 9-10 combination. Then in the finish here, look at this. Look at that skid going uphill.
That's a tenth of a
Yeah,
second.
tenth of a second. So you give him 10 more hundredths there, and
91 to 81,
he catches Nico Walter.
Yeah, he's 15th. And you know, one tiny
Ivo,
little
nice
error
job.
like that.
For what you're working with, that's a pretty good result.
Okay, so here we go. Next up, Benny Meyer of Austria with Markus Sammer behind him. And again, Benny Meyer growing the beard of his generation, I guess, being in his early 20s.
He's 22 or maybe 21 now. What a result these guys had last year at the World Championships in 4-man. This is a upcoming driver here, the Austrian program, back on track.
Yeah, I mean, he very nearly gave up the sporting
Look at
time last year.
5th best start time. And that says it all. He's got starts.
4th place on the sprint times. Oh, huge skid, which will drop him out of the top 10 probably. But Benny Meyer, wow.
This is going to be a
10th
watch
place.
out! You know, this sled got away from him.
Yeah, it's still, he has not reined it in. This horse is galloping away
He's
with
5-6
it on board.
kilometers down, but he's
15th at the line, 14th at the line. That could have been 4th or 5th.
They show us his father in the winner's coach's box. I'm sure he's just shaking his head. Look at him. He'll be distraught over that run. But I got a lot of promise coming up for these guys. The 4-man, this kid's going to be heard from. Last year he medaled in the European Championships in St. Moritz. Remember that? And here, well, that's the training video for how not to do it.
Can you get more sideways? I don't think you can.
The old days, you could turn a 2-man sled around on the track. Not
Do you know what? He
anymore.
came as close as we've seen in a while.
Look at that bump into 50-50. And that's why you had to really look at the runner tips. They're, you know, he's maxed out.
Hauls it off.
You know, holds it off. The old 50-50, we'd have a big delay in the track right now.
That's what the Brits called Robin Hooding it, where you're pulling the arrow, your hands are so far apart.
I never heard that.
Yeah. Final sled of our first heat from Brazil. Edson Bindliati and Edson Martins. The Brazilians are here in number and lots of enthusiasm. They spent about 2 or 3 months in the summer physical training in the UK instead of being in the heat of Brazil. So Coach Joe Manning has done such a strong job with this team.
These guys are just, they work with very little.
Little wild.
Very proud, very, very great talented athletes on this team. Four-man, they're going to do better.
Well, you know, you think Brazilians being full of the joy of life and samba and carnival and all of that, it's a cliche because it is so true. These guys are loving every minute of this.
You've seen that, that's not nice. You know, they come to the track, they're very well outfitted in the kit, they look very professional.
Now this is his first World Cup two-man race. He's made his debut in the four-man before. It's the first World Cup two-man race for Edson Bindliati, and he will finish in 23rd spot behind Lucas Matter of Australia and Loic Kosterg of France. So they are the three that will not go through into our second and deciding heat. But he got down with a few less scares than Benny Meyer, that's for sure. I think Marcus Sammer in the back of Meyer's sled had a few more worrying moments than Edson Martins in the back of the Brazilian sled.
Well, Edson's been he's been like 2 or 3 Olympic Games as a push athlete. Now he's aspiring to come out as a driver. He's a good athlete. He's a good track and field athlete right there.
That's him on the right, Edson Bindliati. Edson Martins with the helmet still on. Ivo De Bruyn with his back to us. The very tall figure of his brakeman, Dennis Fenker.
Friedrich and Margus. Oh, they've won the World Championship 3 times. Oh, they're in first place. Oh, but it's close. Don't count out the Koreans are only one. It's only 400s behind them. We got another great race on our hands, Martin. I don't know if we can take 2 in a row.
I'm not sure. After the skeleton race, I'm not sure if we can handle that emotion. But 400 separating the top 2. We could have another tie for victory here. That's how close the gap is. Justin Cripps, him of Korea, and Rico Peter. And don't count out Lochner and Stulneff either in the bronze medal race. 1200s cover 3rd to 7th. That's going to be tight. But for the gold, you've got to look at Won Young Jong and Francesco Friedrich. Stephen Holcomb, Alexander Kasyanov rounding out the top 10. And both British sleds behind Cody Basque. Lamin Dean is in 16th. Nico Volta 17th. Bruce Tasker 18th. Ivo De Bruyn makes the race in 19th. Rudy Rinaldi will be first off as we go 20-1 in the second heat with Loic Kosterg, Lucas Matter and Edson Bindliati joining the fans trackside to watch the deciding heat. So join us for that as we go 20-1 to see who is going to win the first gold medal, gold medals of the two-man bobsleigh World Cup season. Track is in fine form, the weather is cooperating, the wind has dropped down to what it's been all week, which is absolutely breathless in the still of the night here in beautiful BC, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. This Olympic track has always been fast and exciting. Don't expect that to change for our second heat either. Francesco Friedrich with a point to prove and a lead to hang on to. But can the world champion or the World Cup champion come out on top here? Only one way to find out. Join us for the second heat.